Hey everyone, I appreciate all your feedback during our SkySlope beta. Brian has sent a couple videos, and I just wanted to do a follow-up video. Our goal is to definitely get a number of customers into this round of the betas, so that we can start, doing some initial testing, getting some feedback to see whatever additional sprints and changes we need to make to the API. First is if you are running a real sync SkySlope integration. We want to make sure that we turn that off just for the testing so that we don't have any conflicts with the two integrations. The Sisu SkySlope integration, based on our initial customer feedback, is going to take your Sisu information and push it to SkySlope to create your initial transaction for you. That is the first pass of our integration. Second pass will be doing and making sure that those transactions stay in sync. And then the third option, or the third pass, will be pushing from SkySlope to Sisu. That's largely at part due to the request of SkySlope, who's really interested in deploying that solution out for their customers and having a more integrated solution with Sisu and putting Sisu into the SkySlope marketplace. So that'll be our third option. So if that really is the preference as far as what your business process is like, then you might just want to wait until we do the SkySlope to Sisu integration. But so what I'm going to do is just kind of give you a quick overview of where we are today with the SkySlope integration, and do a quick walkthrough of it, and then with hopes of getting you all set up and start testing out the beta for you and your users. First off, what you want to do is you have to be definitely a SkySlope administrator in the SkySlope platform. Essentially, you would have an admin account here, you'd have my account, and then importantly, it's so that your users, you'd have all your agents that are part of the SkySlope environment. Much like any of the integrations, if your agents are actively going to create transactions in Sisu that are submitted to SkySlope, then they will need a SkySlope license, because we identify the SkySlope user and the Sisu user. So that definitely is something to be considered of. If you are like EXP, Realty One, some of the other brokerages where your primary agent or let's say the broker is on every transaction, we do have a solution for that as well that we'll talk about here in a second. But you definitely need to be an admin in the SkySlope side in order to set up the integration. To set up the integration, it's really easy. All you need to do is make sure you're not in the admin account, but make sure you are in the My account. Definitely make sure that when you're over here in the integration side of SkySlope, hopefully you have your SkySlope API enabled. If you do not have it enabled, reach out to us, reach out to your SkySlope rep so that they can enable the SkySlope API. That allows Sisu to talk to SkySlope on the back end. To set up SkySlope and Sisu, all you need to do is make sure you go to My Account in SkySlope, click on Integrations, and you'll have the option here. I'm going to delete a couple of these keys that I've been doing in test. You'll have the option, yours will be blank. You won't have an access key typically, and you won't have what I'm going to show you here next. But first thing you need to do is come over and generate a new key. Again, you likely won't have one. It'll show an access key and it'll show a secret. Over in the Sisu side, let me hop over to Sisu real quick. Make sure that you reach out to us, at least in this beta phase, is we need to turn on the Automation Hub. Automation Hub today and quickly here in the future will be where all the integrations will reside for any of our integrations, including some of the ones that we're creating for you, like Slack, Microsoft Teams, anything that we're going to set up for you. Much of the if, then, else functionality we'll be adding shortly will be all contained within the Automation Hub. Currently, all you will see today is SkySlope, and you can see we have our Boomtown one here shortly. So you can see that we have the SkySlope element in the Automation Hub. So you need to make sure that the Automation Hub is turned on. Reach out to me, reach out to Brian, reach out to our customer success team. We'll turn on the Automation Hub for you, where you'll see SkySlope, you'll see Boomtown as an option. In the SkySlope, you'll see that I've already got it set up, but I have the access key location. So you can see what we just generated was the access key. So we just need to copy that, paste it over into the access key. The access secret, it will be pasted over into the secret location. As soon as you do that and you've authenticated, you will see a drop down here for your office that will be selected. If that is not an option in a drop down, reach out to us and we can help you out with. This bottom section really is going to be applicable to your, primarily to Realty One, EXP, and any other brokerage or team where call it the broker owner or the owner of record is going to be the primary agent in SkySlope. For example, not going to replace the agent on the Sisu transaction, but really which in all transactions will be submitted to SkySlope. So for the example here, we're just going to say that whoever is on the Sisu transaction record is going to be what we're going to submit it directly to SkySlope, which the transaction will be filed under. That's how vast majority of our teams operate. But again, if it's Realty One, EXP, any of the others where your broker owner is going to be the primary agent, that broker or the primary agent according to SkySlope, we need to make sure we indicate that as such. And then the co-agent will be the agent in the transaction on Sisu. So again, that primary agent, according to SkySlope's terminology, will need a SkySlope license in order to accommodate or in order to submit that. You can always test your SkySlope connection off here to the right, and you'll get a prompt down here at the bottom to say that it's successful SkySlope connection. So that's all you need to do in order to set up your SkySlope to Sisu push. So again, it is a Sisu to SkySlope push. We're going to be pushing the transaction. Okay, so much like other forms in Sisu, all this information is going to be entered in way earlier in the transaction life cycle. So that is really why we chose to allow you to push it over to SkySlope, because we're tracking the vast majority of this information way early on, and we don't want to have our customers, our teams, our brokerages, our agents, our TCs have to go and repopulate this information into SkySlope. So we wanted to give the ability to push this information automatically to the SkySlope to create the transaction. So you can see we have all this information already in Sisu already at this certain status, and now we have a form called SkySlope. The form is going to honor, just to make it very clear, as this is a buyer transaction. When I click on this SkySlope form, we are going to honor the type of form that is going to be sent over to SkySlope, either a buyer or seller. So you can see your property type drop-downs are going to be applicable to your buyers and sellers, much like in SkySlope, and as well as the required fields, like in Sisu always does, always in black, is going to show you those fields that are required to submit a transaction to start a SkySlope transaction. But again, much like the other data entry forms in Sisu, they are merely just a view of the transaction just with additional fields. So you can see that I've already added the first name, last name of my client, mobile phone, contact email, the transaction amount, the lead source was already brought in. So that information doesn't need to be duplicated in the SkySlope form that we submit over to create a SkySlope transaction. It's merely there to save you a lot of time. So now creating the SkySlope transaction, all I need to do is pick the property type and put in the required fields in order to start that transaction. You can see definitely a good number of our customers don't want to re-enter the vendor information. So if your transaction requires vendors, be it title, mortgage, attorneys, depending on your geographic location, we're going to be able to push all that information into SkySlope to save you a lot of time. Your built typical field in SkySlope that's going to be required. So a couple other things I wanted to show you before I submitted this transaction over to SkySlope. We just did this change for a number of customers, and I'll kind of give you a reason why. The SkySlope API, and API is the application programming interface, which is how Sisu talks to SkySlope behind the scenes, technically, does require a certain number of fields in order to even create a transaction in SkySlope. However, many of you are starting your SkySlope transaction way early in the process. Those fields that are required, we've highlighted with just a little prompt. So depending on whether it's a buyer or seller, they're going to have different required fields. Again, only from an API perspective, not on a manual entering it on the web perspective. But in the case for buyers, they do require the under contract date, close date, escrow, and MLS ID. Again, this is only programmatically they require that. In order to do a workaround so that we can get this transaction started for you, is we just throw in some errant dates into the future into SkySlope. Again, that's only SkySlope. We, talking to our teams and our brokerages, it is much more important that these dates are accurate in Sisu, because that's how all your metrics and your numbers are tracked. Under contract, close date, those numbers are very, very important for you in Sisu. So we do not push any information in, or we do not store any information in Sisu. We merely are pushing some dates in the future, and it's really only to get the transaction created in SkySlope. So you can see these dates are blank, and we'll hop over to SkySlope when we submit it just to get your transaction created. You're probably already seeing this anyway when you're manually entering in your SkySlope transactions way early to get your doc started or get your transaction started. It probably gives you a status of incomplete. We just want to make sure that we can get that information over there for you. Again, I don't have any of these dates populated, and as soon as I hit submit, I'm going to get a notification. I'll show you here shortly. That we have a SkySlope transaction completed. You will know that because down at the bottom, you just have that prompt that just popped up that said it's been submitted. But you now also have a link, which is a hyperlink, a jump point that will let me launch the SkySlope transaction. So you can see I don't have under contract date, close date, settlement date. So this status is still in that pending status or appointment set status in Sisu. So we're not messing with any Sisu statuses. We're not messing with any Sisu dates. But importantly, we've saved you a lot of time in generating that SkySlope transaction. So now if we come back over here and click on transaction for SkySlope, you can see we've populated all the information in, the date, the address, the agent of record. You can see I'm the agent of record in this example. Again, if you're an EXP or Realty One, this would be your broker's name, and the co-buyer agent would be the Sisu record, the transaction record, so that their metrics are accurate. We've grabbed transaction amount, we've grabbed year built, we've grabbed the type of property. We've put in those random dates into the future. So if you really do care, we haven't had any customers yet that really think too much about the statuses in SkySlope. You can go and remove these future dates. Again, we just put these dates in so that it would get your transaction in. But again, all this information, we've saved your TCs, your agents, your staff in creating this transaction by populating this to get your transaction started automatically in SkySlope. So you can see we've populated a lot of this information. So we populated the seller's name, the seller's last name. If some of these other fields are required, you can see we've populated the co-broker or the co-agent. We don't have lender information, home warranty, but we did populate your escrow information over into here. So again, the goal is to really eliminate duplicate entry and to get your transactions created faster. So a couple other things just to kind of show you is, let's say later on in the life cycle of this transaction, we come in and we put the under contract date is this date, the settlement date is this date, we actually have an escrow number, we have an MLS ID, and then I submit again. We now have the ability, once that's been pushed over to SkySlope, take a second here, let's close these down. We're working in a beta environment here, so it's not as fast as production. So now if we come back over into the SkySlope transaction, you can see we have updated those dates, close date, acceptance date. So the important part just to remember is we're not affecting any Sisu dates. So your metrics are going to be accurate, your pending dates, your under contract date, importantly, the dates associated to it, and we're keeping the dates in sync when they do occur as far as with regular pushes from Sisu over to SkySlope. So I hope this information has helped you to hopefully get some of you enthused to get your SkySlope, your Sisu to SkySlope beta turned on. As mentioned, just to kind of recap, the goal is we will keep these transactions in sync so that we're not having any data inconsistencies. And then the next big phase of the integration will be pushing from SkySlope to Sisu, primarily to accommodate some of our large brokerage customers that really work out of SkySlope. In addition to working directly with SkySlope, the partnership we're working out with them, where they want to make sure a lot of that function starts with SkySlope and we can get into the marketplace. So again, if you have any questions on the setup, feel free to message us via the group email we've set up or the Slack channel, and or online via chat. We can get you set up. But we look forward to hopefully hopping in and start setting up the Sisu to SkySlope integration. Definitely should have conveyed it at the very beginning. Is if you have, like I did before, if you have a real sync integration in place before we do any testing, let's make sure we shut it off. And the second important thing, hopefully if you listen to this whole video, is there is not a cost associated to this integration. So integrations are very important to us. They're very important to you, as is data accuracy and elimination of duplicate entry. So there's not any additional cost from Sisu to use this integration, nor SkySlope. We're just glad to add additional value to the platform. Thanks a lot, and talk to you soon.